both here. Welcome back. This is Buddhist Books Podcast, part 199. Almost 200, not quite. Tipiṭaka, part 126, in which I will read Bhikkhunivibhaṅga, Pācittiya, meaning expiation, Bhikkhunivibhaṅga, meaning rules for nuns, basically. Part 75, Pācittiya number 75, the rule of Pācittiya 75, 76, 77, and probably more because these are getting very short. As you get toward the end of each section of rules, they tend to get shorter, partly because Miss Horner, I.B. Horner, it says here, yeah, I don't know if you can see that. I.B. Horner. You saw at the beginning of the credits. Anyway, she cuts out more and more and more, replacing it with 3 dots, which is utterly obnoxious, which is one of the reasons why it's a good idea to start at the beginning of the Tipiṭaka by clicking there. Bye! Okay, for those who stayed, so each thing, whether it be a sentence, a paragraph, a word, is said at least once. For example, when you read the Sutta Vibhaṅga Parajika 1, then it says basically every word, except when things start to get repeated within that rule, then it'll get replaced with 3 dots. But then from that point forward, anything that was also said, a phrase, a sentence, a paragraph, a page and a half, that is repeated from before gets replaced with 3 dots. So things get shorter and shorter and shorter the more you read. So when you hear me say 3 dots, that means something was left out that is in an earlier rule. So I apologize for that. Sometimes we do flashbacks for some of the more important things to those earlier times when it was stated. How is everybody? I hope everybody's doing well. It's a nice day here in Goa, India. Not too hot and humid, which shouldn't be something a person should have to say in the Northern Hemisphere on, the last day? It's getting close to the last day of November. But yeah, it's often very warm and humid here, even toward the end of November. It is closer to the equator and tropical, so it's not a big surprise. Okay, I will go ahead and get to the reading. I hope everyone's doing well. Expiation, Pācittiya 75. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, nuns ordained when they had not completed 12 years, parentheses, of training, but, end parentheses, when they had, So the nuns that ordained other nuns, they had completed 12 years, but they didn't consult with the rest of the order of nuns, their local order of nuns, before initiating someone. So 2 things are required. 1, you have to have 12 years as a nun, and you have to get the consensus from all the other nuns. Okay, so they were not agreed upon by the order. They were ignorant, 3 dots. Parentheses, C 84 instead of 84. Have we gotten to 84 yet? We haven't gotten to 84 yet. What are they talking about? Instead of less than 12 years, parentheses, of standing, and parentheses, read when they have completed 12 years, parentheses, of standing. I think they put an extra X in the Roman numerals. I think that's supposed to be 74, but it says 84. Ms. Horner, proofread. She passed away decades ago, so it's silly to talk to her directly. Or is it? Perhaps not. Perhaps you're Miss Horner in her more recent incarnation. It's possible. Yes. Read when they have completed, yes. But they are not agreed upon by the order. And parentheses, 3 dots, quote, 3 dots. It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are, parentheses, not, or who are not, parentheses, yet, and parentheses, pleased, 3 dots, end quote. That was Lord Buddha speaking. Like I said, these get shorter toward the end of each section. And having rebuked them, having given reason to talk, he addressed the monks, saying, quote, I allow you, monks, to give a nun who has completed 12 years, parentheses, of standing, and parentheses, the agreement to ordain. And thus, monks, should it be given. That nun who has completed 12 years, parentheses, of standing, and parentheses, having approached the order, having arranged her upper robe over one shoulder, having honored the feet of the senior nuns, having sat down on her haunches. I'm not really sure, honestly, what that looks like, but I have my suspicions. Having saluted with joined palms, should speak thus to it, quote within quotes, ladies, I, so-and-so, a nun who has completed 12 years, parentheses, of training, end parentheses, request the order for the agreement to ordain, end quote within quotes. And a second time it should be requested, 3 dots. And a third time it should be requested. This nun should be tested by the order, thinking, quote within quotes, this nun is experienced. She is conscientious, end quote within quotes. If she is both ignorant and unconscientious, it should not be given. What about if she's one or the other? If she is experienced, if she is ignorant but conscientious, it should not be given. If she is experienced but unconscientious, it should not be given. So if you're either ignorant or conscientious, and unconscientious, and especially both, you shouldn't be allowed to ordain other nuns. All right. If she is both experienced and conscientious, it should be given. And thus, monks, should it be given. The order should be informed by an experienced, competent nun, saying, quote within quotes, ladies, let the order listen to me. This nun so-and-so, who has completed 12 years, parentheses, of standing, end parentheses, requests the order for the agreement to ordain. If it seems right to the order, 3 dots, parentheses, C, LXXII, 2, etc., end parentheses, 3 dots. The sacred scripture, Miss Horner, what are you doing treating it like? So do I understand this, end quote within quotes, end quotes. Then the Lord, having rebuked the nuns in many a figure for their weakness in maintaining themselves, 3 dots. Quote 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun has completed 12 years, parentheses, of standing, but, end parentheses, who is not agreed upon by the order, should ordain, there is an offense of expiation. Oh, okay, end quote. So the offense here, specifically, is not that she didn't get permission from the other nuns to ordain a particular nun. It's that she didn't go through this ceremony of congratulations, you're a 12-year-old nun. I mean, you've been a nun for 12 years, not a 12-year-old nun, because you have to be 20 to be a nun, right? And now, since you are not ignorant and you are conscientious, you are formally given the ability to ordain other nuns. Then she can ordain other nuns. Okay, whatever means 3 dots. Nun means 3 dots. Completed 12 years means attained to 12 years as a nun. Not agreed upon means the agreement to ordain is not given by a parentheses formal end parentheses act at which the motion is followed by one proclamation. Should ordain means 3 dots parentheses LXIII, comma 2 end parentheses 3 dots. There is no offense if she ordains when she has completed 12 years, parentheses of standing end parentheses, and is agreed upon by the order, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Okay. Expiation, Pācittiya, 76. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now, at that time, the nun Khandakali, haven't seen Khandakali in a little while, we'll put her over here for now. As you can see, that's Princess Azula? Is that her name? The sister of Prince... It's been a little while since I've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. This is the nun Khandakali. She has a temper. All right. The nun Khandakali, having approached the order of nuns, asked for the agreement to ordain. Then the order of nuns, having tested the nun Khandakali, saying, quote, "You have ordained sufficiently, lady, for the time being," end quote, did not give her the agreement to ordain. I don't understand, but I mean, I get the gist, but you have ordained sufficiently? What? The nun Khandakali answered, quote, "Very good," end quote. Now, at that time, the order of nuns gave the agreement to ordain to other nuns. The nun Khandakali, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, "Am I then ignorant, am I then unconscientious, that the order gives the agreement to ordain to other nuns, but does not give it to me?" End quote. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, "How can the nun Khandakali, on being told, quote within quotes, 'You have ordained sufficiently, lady, for the time being,' end quote within quotes, and having answered, quote within quotes, 'Very good,' end quote within quotes, afterwards engage in criticism," end quote, 3 dots. Quote, "Is it true, as is said, monks, that the nun Khandakali," 3 dots, afterwards engaged in criticism?" End quote. Quote, "It is true, Lord," end quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, "How, monks, can the nun Khandakali," 3 dots, afterwards engage in criticism? "It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not," parentheses, "yet," end parentheses, "pleased," 3 dots. This rule of training, whatever nun, on being told, quote in quotes, "You have ordained sufficiently, lady, for the time being," end quote in quotes, and having answered, quote, "Very good," end quote in quotes, should afterwards engage in criticism, there is an offense. Expiation, end quote. Thank you, the nun Khandakali. We'll see you next time. Always a pleasure. Whatever means 3 dots, none means 3 dots. Quote within quotes, "You have ordained sufficiently, lady, for the time being," end quote within quotes, means, quote within quotes, "You have conferred the upasampada sufficiently, lady, for the time being," end quote within quotes. Right? If, having answered, quote within quotes, "Very good," end quote within quotes, she afterwards engages in criticism, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if she criticizes one acting by nature from desire, from hatred, from confusion, from fear, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. So it seems like she's already conferring ordination to nuns. That seems to be what the phrase says. You are conferring ordination sufficiently for the time being, so we're not going to do the formal, yes, you can confer initiation yet, which means she's not ordaining sufficiently, so it's a grandfather paradox. I mean, I get the gist of what that rule was, but it's a little unclear. Perhaps a translation issue. Moving along. Expiation. Pācittiya. 77. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, a certain probationer, having approached the nun Tulananda, thank you, nun Tulananda, asked for the Upasampada orientation. The nun Tulananda, having said to that probationer, quote, "If you, lady, will give me a robe, then I will ordain you." End quote, end quotes, neither ordained her nor made an effort to get her ordained. Then that probationer told this matter to the nuns. Those who were modest nuns, spread it about, saying, quote, "How, nuns, how can the lady Tulananda, having said, neither ordain her nor make an effort to get her ordained," end quote, I thought this was going to be about like, oh, well, give me a robe first, then I'll ordain you. But it's that she did that and then didn't live up to her side of the, like, coercion. The bribe. Quote, "Is it true, as is said, monks, that the nun Tulananda, nor made an effort to get her ordained?" End quote. Quote, "It is true, Lord." End quote. The Enlightened One, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, "How, monks, can the nun Tulananda, nor make an effort to get her ordained? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, yet, and pleased, This rule of training. Whatever nun, having said to a probationer, quote, within quotes, "If, lady, you give me a robe, then I will ordain you," end quote, within quotes, yet, and "if she is not afterwards prevented, should neither ordain her nor make an effort to get her ordained, there is an offense of expiation," end quote. This is another one of those, thank you, the nun Tulananda, portrayed by the wicked stepmother, but not the, there's like more than one wicked stepmother. She's just the one from Cinderella, not the one from Snow White. A lot of wicked stepmothers in Disney. Anyway, that's like a Tulananda rule. There's Upananda rules and there's Tulananda rules. The rules that are just specifically for that one time that Tulananda did that, but it's on the record just in case it ever comes up again, which it never will. Whatever means none means Probationer means one who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Quote within quotes, "If you, lady, give me a robe, then I will ordain you," end quote within quotes means, "Then I will confer the Upasampada orientation on you." If she is not afterwards prevented means, if there is not an obstacle. Should neither ordain her means, should not herself ordain her. Nor should make an effort to get her ordained means, should not command another. If she thinks, quote, "I will neither ordain her nor make an effort to get her ordained," end quote, in throwing off the responsibility, there is an offense of expiation. There is no offense if there is an obstacle. If, having looked about, she does not get the chance, if she is ill, if there are accidents, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Okay? Expiation, Pācittiya 78. At one time, the Enlightened One, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, a certain probationer, having approached the nun Tulananda, she's back, very popular this one, spoke thus to that probationer. I mean popular among rule-breaking nuns or rule-establishing naughty nuns. Never mind. quote, if you, lady, will wait upon me for 2 years, then I will ordain you, end quote. And having said this, or this in parentheses, having said parentheses, this and parentheses, 3 dots, parentheses, C 77, comma 1, and parentheses, 3 dots, quote, 3 dots. This rule of training, whatever nun, having said to a probationer, quote, within quotes, if you, lady, will wait upon me for 2 years, then I will ordain you, end quote, within quotes, parentheses, yet, end parentheses. If she is not afterwards prevented, should neither ordain her nor make an effort to get her ordained, there is an offense of expiation, end quote. Whatever means 3 dots, none means 3 dots. Probationer means one who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Them 6 rules. Quote then quotes, if you, lady, will wait upon me for 2 years, and quote then quotes means if you will attend upon me for 2 years. Quote, quote then quotes, then I will ordain you, end quote then quotes means then I will confer the upasampada orientation on you. If she is not afterwards prevented means 3 dots, parentheses, C 77, comma 2, end parentheses, 3 dots. If she is the first wrongdoer. Expiation, Pācittiya 79. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, the nun Tulananda ordained the probationer Khandakali, they're both here, who kept company with men, who kept company with youths, who was violent, a dwelling place of grief. Those who were modest nuns, 3 dots, spread it about, saying, quote, how can the lady Tulananda ordain, 3 dots, grief? How can she ordain grief? End quote, 3 dots, quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that the nun Tulananda ordained, 3 dots, grief? We're going to call you grief from now on, all right? End quote, quote, it is true, Lord, end quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, how, monks, can the nun Tulananda ordain, 3 dots, grief? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, parentheses, yet, end parentheses, pleased, 3 dots, this rule of training. Whatever nun should ordain a probationer who keeps company with men, who keeps company with youths, or utes, for fans of my cousin Vinny, who is violent, a dwelling place of grief, there is an offense of expiation. End quote. Whatever means 3 dots, none means 3 dots. Man means one attained to 20 years of age. Youth means one not attained to 20 years of age. Keeps company means keeps company unbecomingly as to body and speech. Violent means she is called angry. Dwelling place of grief means she arouses sorrow in others. She enters upon grief. Probationer means one who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Should ordain means 3 dots, C 61, comma 2, end parentheses, 3 dots, and an offense of wrongdoing for the group and for the woman teacher. There is no offense if she ordains her not knowing, if she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer. Wow. The time Tulananda got in trouble for ordaining Khandakali. Oh, but if she hadn't ordained Khandakali, we wouldn't have Khandakali, and then we wouldn't have all the rules that resulted from her shenanigans. So, I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? Or does it? I don't know. Expiation, Pācittiya, we'll end with this one. 80, LXXX. At one time, the enlightened one, the Lord, was staying at Savatthi in the Jeta Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. Now at that time, the nun Tulananda, again, ordained a probationer without the consent of the parents and husband. Wait a minute. There was a rule that said that you had to hide a nun from her husband. Now you have to get consent from the husband, so you have to hide her so the husband doesn't change his mind and come kidnap her? I am confused. That's a little weird. That's a little weird. All right. The parents and the husband, spread it about, saying, quote, how can the Lady Tulananda ordain the probationer without our consent? End quote. I mean, it's almost like these are happening in different universes or in maybe different centuries. I don't know. Maybe these are all stacked up and added to each other and only actually like 10 rules came from the original Sangha. I don't know. Maybe that's a controversial thing to say, but from the inconsistency, it starts to seem a little... Nuns heard the parents and the husband who spread it about. Those who were modest nuns spread it about, saying, quote, how can the Lady Tulananda ordain a probationer without the consent of the parents and the husband? End quote, quote, is it true, as is said, monks, that the nun Tulananda ordained and husband? End quote, quote, it is true, Lord. End quote. The enlightened one, the Lord, rebuked them, saying, quote, how, monks, can the nun Tulananda ordain a probationer, and husband? It is not, monks, for pleasing those who are not, yet, and pleased, this rule of training. Whatever nun should ordain a probationer without the consent of the parents and husband, there is an offense of expiation. End quote. Whatever means none means Parents means they are called the progenitors, or parents is a more, recognizable word for what they are anyway. Husband means he to whom she is married. Without the consent means not asking, for permission, end parentheses. Probationer means one who has trained for 2 years in the 6 rules. Should ordain means 61,2, end parentheses, and an offense of wrongdoing for the group and for the woman teacher. There's no offense if she ordains her not knowing. If she ordains her, what? Parentheses, she, end parentheses, having obtained permission. What? Okay. There is no offense if she ordains her not knowing, semicolon. If she ordains her, comma, parentheses, she, end parentheses, having obtained permission. Oh, okay. There's no offense if you ordain someone and they have their husband and father's permission. But be sure to hide her from her husband so he doesn't come take her away. Apparently, from the rule we read in the previous episode. If she is mad, if she is the first wrongdoer, you know what? I'm feeling a little mad from the contradiction and the weirdness in some of these rules, but it's okay. Well, that was the reading for today. For those who, I don't know, maybe this is the first one of these that you've heard, seen. We're reading pre-sectarian early Buddhism, the rules for nuns right now. We've read all the rules for monks, and eventually, we're going to finish the Vinaya Piṭaka and move on to the Sutta Piṭaka, and I'm really looking forward to that. However, I'm curious if you are still watching and you enjoyed this video, please let me know by clicking like on this video if you're on YouTube. And if you're not already subscribed, please do feel free to subscribe. And if you're interested, this is all about the books. This is all about learning Buddhism by way of the books. And since I only have me to work with, a pictorial, representation of my journey through learning through the books. You get to see my ignorance, my conclusions, my struggling to put things together in real time as I go through it. But it is all about the books. It's intended to be all about the books. These things are here to, I collected these things over time, but I'm not here to show you, I'm me and this is my collection. No, I am shooting this here with these things here and reading this because I want to give, it's not mine to give, but I want for you to receive inspiration from the color scheme, from the temple stamps from Japan on these two banners, and from the collection of Tibetan statues behind me, and this Bhutani Nyingma Ngakpa robe that I did not earn, and so on. Just to feel a little bit better today, just to feel a little bit more connected today, and to feel like that this strange guy, this random guy on YouTube cares enough to do this. I would like for that to exist. That all being said, if you are interested in me, the guy behind the channel, the guy who's making the channel, and my background and what journey led me to the point where I'm sitting here reading these books, talking to you, I had the pleasure of being interviewed by a friend of mine who hosts a channel called Chicken Philosophy. His name is Gwydion, and you can see that interview by clicking here. It's called The Round Table. All right, I will go ahead and close with the usual closing, the prayer which my father taught me when I was very young. To the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below, we send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Thank you for going on this journey with me.